everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the mid-year book freakout tag. I am going to be doing this instead of a June wrap-up this year because I feel like my wrap-ups get kind of repetitive, so I wanted to like change it up and do this because as of right now, I've officially read 65 books in the year of 2022 and I'm doing pretty good. Before I dive into this tag, we're going to run through some stats of how many books that I've actually read this year. I'm going to use my Copile and my bullet journal, of course. So this year, for my reading stats, let me get my graphs. We are slowly making our way through the physical TBR still. I think the last time I counted, I had 114 books on my physical TBR, but I have since read a couple books off my TBR, so we're probably sitting about 110 physical books on my TBR, which is pretty good. We're gonna keep trying to shrink that number as we go throughout this year, as I, keep buying books and keep pre-ordering them, but it's fine. It's fine. I've also got, of course, my graphs in here. You can tell that there's one that is exceptionally taller than the other, and I'll give you a second. Yes, it's fantasy, of course it is, specifically adult fantasy. So yeah, let's run through it. I have read, out of my lovely categories, because I have lovely categories along the bottom here, I've read 7 YA fantasies, and then I have read 34 adult fantasy novels throughout the year. That's that really tall one, 34. I've actually started doubling down, and like I'm going to go up the side as well. So we're gonna see how that goes. 34 adult fantasy. I have read 7 adult sci-fi books. I've not yet read any YA sci-fi this year. I have read 2 middle grade novels, and I've read 7 regular fiction novels. Those are usually like the literary fiction ones or the ones that I don't really know where to put. I've read 1 mystery novel, 4 romances, 1 classic, 1 regular YA fiction, 1 non-fiction as well. Now I have a full range of ratings, as you can tell. The only rating I do not have any books in is a 1 star. That's usually because I DNF books if I'm really mad at them. Well, I have a few exceptions, but I DNF them if they're just bad and I don't want to, put myself through that. And if I do end up putting myself through it, they end up being a 1.5 or a 2 star. Just that's how they end up falling in the ratings. So speaking of a 1.5 or 2, I have 1 book in each of those categories, and then I have 3 2.5 stars, I have 5 3 stars, I have 8 3.5 stars, I have way too many 4 stars, I got 24 4 stars, I have 12 4.5 stars, 9 5 stars, 2 with no rating, and 4 DNFs. Those are basically my stats. Throughout the months, we've kind of had a little bit of a middling reading year for me anyways. I'm usually an average of 12 books a month reader, but this year I've barely read 10 books a month for the majority of the months. January I read 9. February and March were my exceptions. February I ended up reading 16 books. Don't ask me how. March I ended up reading 13 books. April was 9. May was 10. And then June so far is 8 books, so I'm falling behind. And it is currently June 27th that I am filming this, so we shall see if I finish one before the end of June. Probably not, but again, we'll see. Book of the month. This is a new page that I've been keeping in my bullet journal, which is a spread of the favorite books of the month that I have. So I have all these little babies right here. June's I do not have with me because I have yet to finish June, but I think it's going to be The Stardust Thief. So in January, my favorite book of the month was Witchmark by C.L. Polk. In February, it was Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. In March, it was The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd-Jones. In April, it was Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. And in May, it was Book Lovers. And I think in June, it's going to be The Stardust Thief, which is fantastic. Alrighty, so let's get into this tag. So I'm using the questions as proposed on a blog from 2020 called Truffles Literary Wonders. The best book I've read so far is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I don't have my copy because my friend currently has it, and so I will put it on the screen. Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This is like the best thing I could ever want in my life. I want to reread it again and again and again. It is so lovely. It is a soft, cozy fantasy, low-stakes novel where we have Viv, an orc who decides one day to retire. She's done with her adventuring. So she decides to open up a coffee shop and introduce a small town that has never had coffee to coffee. And so it's like her opening up the shop and hiring on 2 different helpers. One is I want to say succubus. I can't remember if they actually say that as her race. She kind of looks a little bit like a tiefling on the cover, but I love her as well. And then we have Thimble, the little baker in the back. I love him so much. And it's just this warm hug. That is what that book is. It's a warm hug. The next question is the best sequel I've read so far. Now, I have read, apparently, according to my cop-out, 10 different sequels this year, so I'm doing pretty good, considering. But I have 3 options because I just couldn't pare it down. So I have, of course, Temple of No God by H.M. Long, which is the companion sequel to Hall of Smoke, which is a, you know, high fantasy, Skyrim-y vibe amazingness, one of my favorite fantasy novels of all time, and Temple of No God was no exception. It was very, very good. And then we also have Finlay Donovan Knocks Him Dead, which is the sequel to Finlay Donovan is Killing It. This was just so much fun. It was such a fun ride. And I love these books. They are the perfect amount of absurd and enjoyable combined. Incredible. This is about a struggling author, single mom, who is trying to make ends meet, and one day is overheard in a cafe talking to her agent about her next book, and is accidentally mistaken for a hit woman and gets hired to kill this lady's husband for $50,000. Gets roped into that. And then of course Harrow the Ninth, because how could I not mention Harrow the Ninth? I love it so much. I cannot wait for Nona. I'm so excited. I've pre-ordered Nona and I'm so excited. I've pre-ordered Nona and it's a hardcover. That's when you know I like it, because both of these are soft cover and I have issues with not matching series on my shelves. So the fact that I ordered Nona in hardcover is telling you how much I love this series, because I cannot wait for it to be in softcover for me to get it in my hands and read it. So excited about that one. A new release I have yet to read, but really, really want to. I have a couple, I always do, as you guys know, but I think probably the one that I'm most excited about is Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro, Canadian author. It's a historical fantasy set in like Victorian England. So I'm excited about this. It's chunky and I'm ready to sink my teeth into it. That's really all I know about it, but I'm very excited about it. My most anticipated release for the second half of the year, I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and I guess I could say Nona the Ninth, which I've talked about previously, but I'm gonna cheat a little bit and say Blade Breaker, because it is released tomorrow for me, Tuesday, June 28th, and I'm waiting for the email telling me that my copy is being shipped, so I'm gonna have to probably wait another week before I can even see it, because I don't have that email of it being shipped yet, and I'm irritated because I want my pre-order. But I think it's Blade Breaker because I'm so excited about it. You guys know how much I loved Realm Breaker. It is out of shot right now, but I loved it so much. Ooh, it's gonna be so good. I'm ready, but I think that one. Or, you know, Nona the Ninth. Other ones that I could mention, because I have a list of pre-orders in here. We also have Prayer for the Crown Shy, which is the sequel to Psalm for a Wild Built by Becky Chambers, which was my favorite book of last year. I am so excited for that next novella. It's ridiculous. So Prayer for the Crown Shy is coming out in July, so I'm ready for it. And then in August, we have The Oleander Sword, which is the sequel to The Jasmine Throne, which is also another one of my favorite books of last year. So both of those sequels I'm super, super excited about. The next question is, what was the biggest disappointment so far in your reading? I have one, and that is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan. This was not good at all. Not a good book. No, And I'm so mad about it because the concept is so cool. It follows the daughter of the, you know, moon goddess, if you couldn't tell, but it follows her as she like has to live on her own and make her own ends meet in this celestial kingdom, and it's got really cool like concepts of world building and things, but it was just executed really poorly and I didn't like it at all. I rage finished it and I hated it. I hated it so much that I wrote in the back how much I hated it. And I'm surprised I still own this, to be honest. It is going to my friend when she moves back, because I unhauled it from my shelves officially, but she has not been back yet, and it's just waiting for her. So going to my friend because she wants to give it a try. Hopefully she likes it more than me, because I did not like it whatso flinging ever. The next question is, what is the biggest surprise of 2022 that you've read? And that is probably House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. This I was fully expecting to hate. I came out of it with like a, I don't know, I read it, the majority of it in like a 4 to 6 hour fugue state, and I really liked this. I originally rated it 3.5 stars, but I bumped it to a 4 after book club conversations, and I am so shocked at how much I enjoyed this, because nothing about it says that I would enjoy it, because it's like a horror novel with like narratives layered inside narratives, layered inside narratives, and there's footnotes, and it's formatted really stupidly, but I liked it a whole heck of a lot. I will say I only really liked the Navidson record in this. I didn't like Johnny's point of view. I barely read Johnny's point of view because his brain just hurt to read through, and his font hurt as well, so I didn't really read his point of view. But other than that, House of Leaves, the biggest surprise. The next question is a favorite new author to me. Now, this is an interesting question because I think most of the authors that I've read this year have been authors that I've read before if I really enjoy them. So like Hannah Long, favorite author, Tamsin Muir is a favorite author, but I've read their books before. And I want to say like John Gwynne, but then I remember that I read Shadow of the Gods around Christmas last year, so I can't really even say him. But I think I'll probably say Travis Baldree, because even though I've only read one of his books, it was perfection. So, and he's only released one book, so once he releases more, I will read more of his books and enjoy them all. I know. But some authors that I want to watch out for are Chelsea Abdullah, who is the author of the Stardust Thief. I also want to watch out for Tara Sims novels because I really enjoyed The City of Dusk. There's just a few little ones. Marina Lostetter, who wrote The Helm of Midnight. I want to check out more of her things. Yeah, it's been really a really interesting year for sure, because most of the books that I've really enjoyed have been from authors that I've read in previous years. So this is a really interesting question to answer because I don't have a favorite author from this year. I just have authors that I've enjoyed and want to keep an eye out for. So that's my answer. A newest fictional crush, again, can I even say, well, yeah, okay, we'll say Charlie Lastra from Book Lovers. Oh, and Delilah Green from Delilah Green Doesn't Care. These two from this year, most definitely. But I was going to say Gideon from Gideon the Ninth and Harrow the Ninth. Even though I didn't read Gideon this year, I read Harrow this year. But Gideon is forever the love of my life. So I love her unendingly. Love her so much. Oh my god. The next one is the newest favorite character. That would be Kadir from the Stardust Thief, who isn't even a point of view character, but he is a bodyguard essentially to Luli, who is the Midnight Merchant in this, who is one of our point of views. But Kadir is a djinn, and I love Kadir so much. So probably him. He's my new favorite character from this year, at least. The next question is a book that made me cry, and I cried everything if you do good enough. So like most recently, probably Delilah Green Doesn't Care or Book Lovers. Those made me cry most recently, so we'll go with those. And a book that made me happy? Well, we're gonna answer that with the same too, because these both made me extremely happy as well. I think I originally picked Delilah Green Doesn't Care for the cry one and Book Lovers for the happy one, but both of them made me cry and both of them made me very happy. That's just kind of par for the course with romance novels though, because like, of course it is, they're romance novels, so we love it. So that's my answer for that. The next question is the most beautiful book I've bought this year, and I think it actually goes down to these two, which is Ordinary Monsters and The Stardust Thief. These are both absolutely stunning. That's an easy question. What's the most beautiful book you bought this year? What books do you need to read by the end of the year? I don't really have anything that I like absolutely need to read, except for this list that I made at the beginning of the year, which is the 22 books that I want to read in 2022, which is actually a video that I put up as well. And I haven't done very well on it as of yet. So some of the books that I really desperately need to read by the end of the year are ones that I've had on my TBR for a long time, like The Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson and Starsight by Brandon Sanderson. I also would really like to read The Half Sick of Shadows. But yeah, if you want to go see all of the books that I want to read that are on my like 2022 TBR, go watch that video. We'll remember to put it in the down bar for you guys if you want to go watch it. So 22 books I want to read in 2022. And now we have the last question, of course, which is your favorite book to movie adaptation that I have seen this year. Now, I don't really watch movies and new movies especially I don't really watch. I haven't been to the theater in like 2 years since the beginning of 2020, but I think my favorite book to movie adaptation, the only one that I've watched this year, is the, what year was it? It's the Gwyneth Paltrow Emma, which was absolutely ridiculous. I prefer the 2020 Emma leaps and bounds over that one, but I think that's the only one that I can really answer with because that's the only one I've seen. I've watched many a Jane Austen movie this year, so literally any of those, like the Emma Thompson Sense and Sensibility or the 1995 Pride and Prejudice BBC miniseries, those ones probably. Maybe even Merlin, I guess you could say. It's like the King Arthur myth that's been put on TV. Maybe that I don't really know, but those are the favorite book to movie adaptations. I feel like there's more questions that I've seen people do. Mid-year book freak out tag. I just went on to YouTube to see if I could find a YouTuber that has done this rather than a blog post. And this one here, her name is Abby Salter, has 2 extra comments. So it was just favorite video or post I've done this year. And I think my favorite video that I've done this year so far. I always really enjoy filming my Friends Pick My TBR videos. Those are really fun. I also really enjoy the kind of one-off videos that I didn't really plan on doing, like when I participated in hashtag SFFPit on Twitter. I did like a little writing vlog for that. There was that one random video that I did where I was talking about how to read cozy fantasy, where I talked about the Wingraph Cozy Fantasy Literary Magazine, which was really fun to do, and just kind of think a little bit out of my comfort zone with that video. And of course, searching for my cozy fantasy reads. And then I think most recently, which is not a booktube video, but it is my 70K in 30 days writing challenge, which I will have part 2 up next week for you guys. I think that's probably my favorite one. The last question that this video has as well is favorite book community members. And recently, who have I been really loving to watch? I always really love Kayla from Books and Lala, and I love watching Reagan from Peruse Project. But recently I've kind of gotten into the Roomies Digest, which has been really fun. And I really enjoy Library of a Viking as well. And of course, Holly Hearts Books, who's a friend of mine, and Darling Desi and Gabby Reads, and just so many, like Read with Cindy. It's no longer Read with Cindy. There's so many that I enjoy watching, and it's just fantastic. But anyways, my friends, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know down below what your favorite book of the year has been so far, because I want to know. Tell me your favorite book of the year. We'll chat about books in the comments, but yeah. All right, my friends, I'll catch you in another video very soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.